Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast. We will be joined today later by a couple of people from the video collective Everything is Terrible, which you might have heard of, most famous around here for Doggiewoggiez Poochiewoochiez, the remake of the Holy Mountain using all dog footage. But right now, I'm just here with Giles Edwards
Hello.
to talk about this week's new releases and the fact that the Zoom doesn't do well with both Santa hats and a black and white background for some reason. So this looks a little odd, but that's
Yeah,
on brand, as the kid.
exactly. This is like everything we do is on purpose to make the viewer and listener think and
And be
get disoriented.
Yes, and get disoriented, yes. So in further news, we will not have an episode next week. And the week after that, we will do Giles and I will share our 10 weirdest or top picks for weird movies of 2023. And I assume Giles is eagerly catching up on the ones he's missed.
Oh man, and how I will be. Let's see. Yeah, okay, I can do it.
I've seen
Yes.
60 candidates, or I wrote down 60 candidates. I've
Oh,
59 of them. I'll get the last one out of the way tonight.
okay. I'll check out our easy to use tag system for all the 2023
Well,
tagged items.
link that I sent you, so which you don't.
And or even easier that I have the link, but for you at home, our 2023 tag will give you all our 2023 releases, and you'll be able to see just the dozens of things we've seen between the gang of 4 to 7 of us reviewing.
Right. And so let's get into what's up this week. And especially, I think we're going to go even a little further into the future since we won't be on next week and do at least one that's coming up next week. Let me share my screen. And I probably have the wrong one up, but we'll talk about that later. Let's start with this thing that's in theaters, which is, now Giles, you can see this?
I can see this, yes.
What do you see?
I see a fella, I'm going to guess, it's black and white photograph, a fella wearing either Ray-Bans or a good knockoff of the brand, looking mysterious, smoking what I'm going to guess is a fairly heavy cigarette, considering I know who this is, and I'm guessing this photo was taken probably sometime in the 60s. And it's this event you're referring to is celebrating this particular individual.
Who is?
Jean-Luc Godard. Not to be confused with the Enterprise captain.
Right. You're right. I never noticed that their names were so similar before, which is strange. That probably was intentional. Maybe not. So yeah, this is a documentary put out by Kino Lorber. It's it's another Talking Heads type clip show documentary celebrating the recently deceased French New Wave giant. Sort of probably similar to the Herzog documentary that we discussed last week, in which Giles will be reviewing in print for the site next week. No, I don't have too much to say about it because, like I say, it's just a retrospective documentary. It's the kind of thing that you kind of is obligatory at some point. If somebody's big enough, they need a document like this with people appreciating their long and fruitful career.
Yeah. And I think from what I've seen around my various Twitter types, is I believe concurrently in a number of smaller places, there are screenings of a bunch of Godard's films as well.
That is something I forgot to mention. and in some of these screenings, it doesn't say which ones, they are also going to be screening trailer of a film that will never exist, Phony Wars, which is Godard's final movie. It is his it's a feature he had planned, one of his essay type features that he did in his very latest years, and realized he wasn't going to be able to complete it, so he cut it down to 20 minutes, and that is his final film, and that will screen together with this in some venues, but once again, I can't say for sure which ones. I know this is playing in New York and Los Angeles, Montreal.
Okay. Three cities that make sense. Yep, I can believe that Godard would be screened in those 3 cities.
I think Montreal is at an art museum, and New York and Los Angeles are at the usual sort of film forum and Lamille theater suspects. And the only other thing I guess I'll say on this is because the nature of the product, after it's going to have a short theatrical run in select cities, and then I would expect it to be on DVD and VOD maybe as soon as February of next year.
Yeah.
So it won't be too long, but so that's one we're warning you about for the future, most likely, unless you're a New Yorker or Los Angelite or Montrealian who has access to a theater and wants to go out and catch it on the big screen. And I assume the short will be included also on the DVD for sure.
Oh, I'd hope so.
Yeah, there's no way they'd leave that out. And that's probably the most exciting thing to see. Before we leave this picture, Giles' favorite Godard movie.
I've seen of the 140 he's apparently made, I think I've only seen half a dozen or so. My favorite is probably The Weekend. That had a nice fun and grim thing going on simultaneously. Obviously, the importance of Breathless is very difficult to overstate, but I think by the time the Weekend happened, there was a crystallization of Godard in the form that I preferred most. I've seen some of his later stuff, and by later, of course, I mean the last 40 years of his career, considering how long-lived he was and how prolific he was, and he obviously had any number of important things to say and certainly had a grasp on style and subverting style and so on. But when he was more tied, I like the very creative types when they're kind of anchored to a narrative to see what they do within that confine. And so The Weekend is probably my top pick there from my woefully limited exposure.
Yeah, I think that's probably not too controversial. After The Weekend is kind of like a peak for Godard, because after then he just totally went off the deep end into the political filmmaking that was, for the most part, very, very, very uncommercial. About 10 years or so.
Yeah, I remember there was something I reviewed earlier on when I started at 366. So we're looking back 6-7 years ago now, that there was this neat thing where it seemed every time the movie was getting too political and art housey, these couple of agents with guns would show up and kind of disrupt it. But that only happened a couple times before it just focused on the political and art housey thing. But if he continued that throughout, I think I would have really sunk my teeth into that.
He did have a sense of humor about his own lack of approachability sometimes. For my favorite, I'll say Pierrot Le Fou, because it's just the great performances, the songs. It's cinema. It's wandering and sort of not very focused. There is a narrative, but it's not very focused. But it's one of those things where it succeeds on a vignette level. Everything seems to work. And Weekend is very similar. Weekend a little more scabrous. But I think Pierrot Le Fou is a much more fun movie to watch. And there's like Anna Karenina. Okay, well, y'all see that if you can. Next up, I'm going to do these two together.
Ah,
Are very indie movies of people we have recently interviewed that are either released now or being released. The one on my right, Deep Astronomy and the Romantic Sciences, is from Corey Maccabee, who we interviewed a couple of weeks ago, and that was released last week, and we forgot to mention it, but it is available and it is free, most importantly. And I'll leave the link down. It's Red Planet Planning Commission.com, but I will leave the link down so everyone can find it more easily. Or you could probably just Google Deep Astronomy and the Romantic Sciences. And this is a collage movie, sort of from a group that Corey formed called Captain Ahab's Motorcycle Club, where various artists were simply encouraged to contribute whatever they wanted to this, and he would find some way to use it. So basically, what he came up with for this short movie, which only runs 70 minutes, is the idea of a cyborg trying to understand humanity in a bar. And she interviews this guy, and it allows him to insert a bunch of sketches, amongst which are musical performances, very short animated pieces, including one by Scott Bateman, who we interviewed recently, and a number, I think there are about 4 of them that are like fake TED Talks.
huh,
And there
yeah.
are also some PSAs thrown in there. And so that's Deep Astronomy and the Romantic Sciences, which is available for free. The Sudbury Devil is one Robert Hubbard and I interviewed the filmmaker and producer just last week. You can see that episode. I'll link both these episodes. Sudbury Devil is a straightforward occult horror movie, though one with psychedelic elements. And it is a historical horror movie.
Oh, cool.
And set very the director is Andrew Rakich is very thorough in his historical research, and he tries to make it as accurate as possible. King Philip's War, which I was largely unaware of, or not, I just heard the name and didn't know much.
King Philip of Spain.
King Philip's War in the 1600s, or it's a sort of pretty much a genocide thing.
Oh, okay.
Native Americans, where a astounding number of Native Americans were killed by colonists. That is sort of the background of this film, which deals with witchcraft and the occult, and perhaps some sort of revenge by history from beyond the grave. And so this will be available on December 21st, but we won't be on December 21st. So we're warning you now to go see it, and it seemed appropriate to pair with Deep Astronomy.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for the Sudbury Devil just shortly before this podcast, and I'm certainly very intrigued. And whether or not I get to review it, I will be aiming to see it.
And that one will not be free, by the way, but he is self-releasing it on Vimeo.
Oh.
So it's going to be like $5, I think, something like that. And that way, all the money, he has a long video where he goes over, how why he's distributing it that way and how he plans to distribute the money. He doesn't want to give money to the distributor. He just wants to give it directly to the producers and actors who have a percentage of the receipts. And so, that's a nice purchase. When you purchase it, that it will go to the deserving people who made it. Did you have any comments on deep astronomy, Giles? I imagine.
I may have missed that in the Giles pay attention to this email, but so as such, I don't. Poster looks good, and it does sound like one of the better frameworks for a vignette style thing that I've heard about in my long history of watching vignette style things. So I am intrigued.
Okay. Let's move on to one that another one we probably don't have much to say about. It's Suspect Zero, surprisingly on 4K Ultra HD. I did not even realize it was on Blu-ray, and maybe it wasn't. This is a movie that has fallen through the cracks for me. It's a psychological thriller about a serial killer trying to find a serial killer, and there's psychic phenomenon and references to MK Ultra in it. And it was made by none other than begotten auteur Elias Merhige. And it was probably his second commercial feature that he made before.
Yeah, this was '04, so this was within 5 or so years of Shadow of the Vampire, which got an Academy Award nomination, and probably the most mainstream thing Mr. Merhige would be capable of, being a horror comedy, and that attracted Willem Dafoe, Udo Kier, Harry Elwes, John Malkovich, and this has Aaron Eckhart and Ben Kingsley and Carrie-Anne Moss. So again, no, it's cracks though it may have fallen through. Now on 4K Ultra HD, Merhige is very, 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 very visual in his technique. So I'm guessing this is probably worth splashing out for as close to a picture as the director is probably capable of exhibiting to the masses.
Yeah, I will say I was able to contact Elias Merhige in about 2008 on Facebook, and he was surprisingly willing to converse with me. And then he left Facebook, and I don't have an email, or I haven't seen him since. And he even wrote a little piece on Begotten that was exclusive for us. Very little piece, but like it's sort of a short director statement that was exclusive for us and is on the website. But when I talked to him during the brief time, he was very several times he mentioned Shadow of the Vampire and wanting to promote that, in his name, like Elias Merhige, author of Shadow of the Vampire. Never once mentioned Suspect Zero. I don't know what that means. I doubt it means that he's not proud of it, but he might have had more financial interest in the first one, and Suspect Zero might be one of those cases where the studio had too much influence.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Because he didn't do any more feature films, I don't believe, after that, and went back to doing short experimental films and just actually sort of disappearing as far as I can tell. But yeah, so neither of us have seen it, I take it. So if you know the film, you're probably a fan and will know about it. If you're an Elias Merhige completist, you may want to check it out too. And we may check it out at some point, since it has slipped through our cracks and does look interesting, and has that, psychics and MK Ultra together via Elias Merhige. Sounds like it can't possibly be boring.
No, and those three names of the actors on the front there, it's like, okay, this is
and good actors.
I'd be really willing to bet that this is better than the 5.8 star rating it's got on IMDb. But then again, we often look at things differently than other people do.
Yeah. So one we don't have much to say about, not because it's a bad movie, or as a matter of fact, it's an absolute classic. Just because we've talked about it before, and maybe we've talked about it to death. But the Old Boy is was restored and had been touring theaters, and now it's out in the Ultra 4K edition, deluxe edition from Neon. And so Old Boy, I think, Giles, you want to describe at least what we're looking at and maybe.
Oh yeah, this is a well-cased DVD. It's done up like it's got a cloth binding thing going on with in a nice stately font, Park Chan-wook's Old Boy Ultra 4K edition on a kind of dark lilac, white text on a dark lilac background banner along the top. Toward the bottom, I'm going to guess is the original language name of the title. So I'm guessing those symbols mean Old Boy. And dominating this side, at least, is a scientific style drawing as might be found in late 19th century to early 20th century of an octopus.
Why?
And it, well,
Have to watch
there
some.
are many memorable scenes in Old Boy, but toward the top of that long list of, oh man, that's quite a scene, is an encounter the protagonist has not too long after he is released from a long period of nebulous confinement, and he is at a seafood restaurant and is demanding of the young sushi chef woman there that he have something alive to eat. And she obliges, and he consumes a small, not terribly small, but smallish octopus, which is alive.
Giles, do you happen to have the Amazon page up for that?
I do.
Can you go through some of the special features that are on there?
With pleasure. Here we go. A special edition contains over 18 hours of extra features, including audio commentary with the director, audio commentary with the director alongside the cinematographer, audio commentary with the director and alongside three of the actors. There's an interview with the director that's half an hour long. There is something called Autobiography of Old Boy, which is 3.5 hours, and I'm guessing that is probably a bunch of, I'm going to guess that's like footage of maybe during filming the thing that has been collected and whatever adventure they had there. Something titled Old Days, which is 2 hours, 18 outtake or deleted scenes, a cast reminiscence bit, which runs over slightly an hour. Looks like about 9 minutes of audition footage. Oh gosh, a whole lot of stuff. First reading scout, location scout training, and then it goes on with more. So there's a lot of stuff here.
How many discs does it say it is?
This has, I am seeing, scrolling. I think it's two. Yes, it is. Okay, here's a picture. Oh, that. And wow, opening it up, it's beautiful on the inside too. Yes, it looks like 2 discs, comes with some postcard or lobby card kind of things. Man, this is just a pretty, oh, and a book. Yeah, for the super deluxe edition, which will cost you around $76. It looks like it's going to be worth every cent though for anyone who's a fan of this film.
I think I'm going to say that I think they cheated a bit. I love Neon. I think they cheated a bit with saying 18 hours of special features, though, because it seems like they counted 3 separate audio commentaries, which are 2 hours each,
Yeah, that's true.
as
So I guess
features. So that's 6 hours that is just commentaries. So
all right. So I guess scaling. Okay, 14 hours, and we'll lump all the commentary tracks into one bit of extra there. But it looks this looks about as thorough as you can get without coming with, I don't know, action figures and a play set.
yeah.
Which makes me think a Lego tie into this. Yeah, Lego doesn't tie into enough of the right movies.
This will set you back about $75, which isn't that bad considering all you get. But we shouldn't mention it's the deluxe limited edition, and there will almost certainly be.
Oh yeah, they already have. Yeah, they have a price point for. I think the standard one is a little less than half the
Yeah.
limited edition price, and will almost certainly be a little lower than what they're thinking now. So, for those who really want this in collector form, it looks like it's coming out. Oh, is it already out of stock? Okay, so you might have to go to secondary market for this collector's edition.
Do you think it's sold out already?
Amazon doesn't seem to have it actually for sale at
Wow. It
yeah.
might have sold out already. I didn't check that. Wow.
It may have happened between you giving me the link and
May have happened, yeah, that fast. Just that fast. Well, if I find out anything about that, I'll add it.
okay. I found one copy on eBay and they're asking $150.
Whoa, okay. Well, maybe we'll wait on that one. Wow. Okay. Well, let's move on before we run out of time to by the way, has the screen been just okay? It's okay the whole time?
The screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just seeing the old boy. Okay. Here's another one that we've described before. Giles, describing this would take up too much time, I think, trying to describe this.
No, I can do it. I'll try it quickly.
Yeah, do it quickly.
Various purple tones, very comic book or horror action things going on in a hand-drawn kind of style in front of a video store, an Arrow video store. And this is their cover for their collection of what, 4 or 5 features, I think.
4, yeah.
4, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. This is the standard edition, the limited edition we had already covered. So the discs themselves, as far as I can tell, are exactly the same. It just doesn't have a lot of the promotional material that came with the limited edition, which was stuff like posters and postcards and art pieces and a booklet and so forth.
But does have a lot of only being 1/3 the cost of the limited edition.
Yeah. So the 4 movies here are The Dungeon Master, Stuart Gordon's Dolls, and Stuart Gordon's Robot Jocks, Cellar Dweller, and Arena. And of those, the only one I particularly like is The Dungeon Master, and I like that on a totally ironic, campy level. That is the movie that was made by Empire with like 7 directors, sort of capitalizing on the Dungeons and Dragons, I shouldn't say craze of the period because
the rise of the fandom.
Yeah, because it's probably retained about the same level of fandom ever since. But they were capitalizing on that, and it is where we get the famous quote, "I reject your reality and substitute my own," which I like to use as much as possible, at least weekly. But yes, so there's a nice little Christmas present idea for you. If you have somebody who really enjoys trashy but creative horror / fantasy movies from the 80s, usually with a little bit of nudity, a little bit of gore. And who doesn't? Giles raised his hand.
Oh no, that was like who couldn't?
So here's the one, Giles, I didn't I forgot to tell you about or came up too late. It is not a very significant release in my opinion, but kind of surprising. An HD restoration of Roger Corman's The Terror with Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson. And the bonus on that is a print of a much better movie, The Little Shop of Horrors, which might not have headlined. I would have headlined Little Shop of Horrors instead of The Terror, but Little Shop of Horrors is in black and white, The Terror in color, so maybe that's why The Terror.
Oh, no, the two names associated with the terror are much bigger, I believe, than
It's
anything.
associated. But I think just in the public, people are more interested in The Little Shop of Horrors than The Terror. I certainly hope so. The Terror was reviewed by the late Alfred Aker on our site, and he said that the film had an equal split of defenders and detractors. However, Alfred was the only defender of the Terror that I have ever come across. So,
Well, he's a very big defender when he defends, so I think he's got more weight than a lot of individual detractors, I'd say.
that's probably right. He counts for several. There's probably someone else who likes the Terror. I think it's one of the worst movies ever made because it's one of the dullest.
Ah, okay. That is a terrible thing for a horror film.
Yes. Giles, have you seen either of these?
I have not had the pleasure. I was interested to see this cover of Jack Nicholson with Boris Karloff because I only know him, I think, in another one in the weird movie The Raven that had Peter Lorre and Jack, like a very young Jack Nicholson in that, and like a couple other classic horror and otherwise luminaries there. And that movie, The Raven, I remember being quite silly, but fun moving forward along at a decent clip, whereas I guess not the terror from what I'm hearing here.
Yeah, no. Jack Nicholson got us. The Terror was made in, I think, 3 days. It was made because they had Boris Karloff available with nothing to do, and they had a location, a castle location, and Roger Corman had his script writer is Charles Griffith, who wrote a lot of his scripts, whip up something at the last minute so they could squeeze out a just over 60-minute feature real fast because they had Karloff and this location available, and that's why it exists.
Huh.
So it's it's a Marvel sort of of low budget, quickly made films, I guess. So
Yeah.
and maybe it has more defenders. Maybe defenders will show up and defend it to us. But there's something, yeah, you could grab as a last minute stocking stuffer for somebody who likes Boris Karloff and doesn't like a lot of excitement in their movies. Or someone who likes Jack Nicholson because he's in both movies, in big role in The Terror, small role in Little.
Oh, okay.
And the last one is we're going to announce this is a movie that's coming out in the future. Giles, describe what we're looking at, if you would, for me.
All right, it's a parking lot scene, and beyond that, you can see some more parking lot with a nondescript, beige to brown graph paper window, not graph, but very linear design building. In the foreground is a somewhat not quite proportional human guy who looks like he's in his late 20s, early 30s, kind of squished strangely on a red office chair thing, which is rested atop a crushed looking Christmas or pine tree, certainly with a number of red and white spherical ornaments on its crumpled form. And in front of this distorted individual is an apparatus of some sort, brass tone, looks like there's a steering, a sort of operation wheel style thing by the character's right hand, and there's a pipe work coming across his torso there. And I'd say he looks either very focused or very relaxed, sitting on top of this chair, on top of this crushed Christmas style tree in this parking lot with a strange device.
Half asleep. Yes, this is a still from an upcoming movie from Zeb Haradon, who our longtime followers may remember for Elevator Movie, the surrealist black and white movie made for about $500 that made our list, and it's set in an elevator with nothing else. This is one of those very new, one of a very few completely feature-length AI generated videos where they Zeb generates the scenario by inputting it into AI. And the theory here is that he has, I think he's taken his real life dreams and made them into a series of vignettes. So it's really a series of short films illustrating his personal dreams done through an alter ego. I've seen some of them on Facebook, if you follow Zeb on Facebook, and I don't know if he just accepts random people as friends, but he has posted several excerpts of these dreams. So I've seen several of them, and they are indeed very dreamlike. He apparently either remembers his dreams much better than I do, and they're more I think more likely he embellishes what he does remember to make it into something of a coherent tale. This one has him dreaming he's driving a Christmas tree across the yard. I think the one that was most memorable to me was when he had Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher, long dead German philosopher, show up at his house and ask to spend the night, and then refuse to sleep on the couch, insist on taking the master bedroom and kicking him and his wife out and making them sleep on the couch. So maybe I've spoiled the entire movie.
Oh, that was the main hook he was hoping to keep tucked away there. Oh well.
That's the spoiler. That will be out in 2024, and we're almost out of time. I wanted to add that one. We will have Zeb on the show. He's agreed to come on to talk about that. So we are going to stop now and come back. It's actually going to be quite a while for us, but not long for you. As a matter, no time at all. You will be here with the guys from Everything is Terrible. So
rock and roll.
See you soon. All right. Bye-bye. Hello, we are back with, I'm back with Giles Edwards and the disembodied voices of Commodore Gilgamesh.
Hello.
And Ghoul Skool, who has another name up there, but you'll know him as Ghoul Skool.
Hello, hello.
From Everything is Terrible, the video collective that has been going on for, has it been over a decade officially?
Oh, I think now we're looking at I think we just had our Sweet 16.
Ooh, exciting. And let's not undersell them, Greg. According to this information page, they're not a video collective. They're an artist collective.
Whichever.
Which uses video a lot.
whatever you want to do. Again, just say the words, whatever you feel.
Yeah, whatever you feel. We're not going to stop you.
You guys are great or terrible. I'm not sure which.
They're everything.
So I guess like a first question that you just got to get out of the way is, how's Jerry Maguire going?
Well, Commodore, you've been fielding it lately at the post office. How's that been looking? What was our last round?
Yeah, usually I go to the post office about once a month when I'm being a good boy. And usually we get between 30 and 50 every time I go in there. And then on the last tour, I think we got like 600 or so. Actually pretty close to 666. So
wow,
that's not bad for 2 weeks.
And we're looking
shows.
so that puts us, lately I've been saying we're around 45,000, give or take, right?
You know what? Where lies and truth intersect is where we're at there. So I think 40,000 is safe to say. 50 is funner to say.
Yeah, but it was 40 a while ago, like last year. So
see, but I think I was just thinking about that today. I think I was lying then.
Did we up it last time?
I think maybe.
Then 40 is safe to say. Let's just go with 40,000. That's our answer.
Honestly, if it's more than 1,000, it's the world is not okay, and we should talk about it.
Yeah.
In case anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, they've been collecting Jerry Maguire VHS tapes for, at one point, I don't know if this is still a plan, you were going to build a pyramid of them in the desert.
Oh yeah.
Still part of the plan. Still part of the plan. You know, some finances are getting in the way, but that's not going to stop us.
How many do you?
Well, at the time that we wanted to do it, well, we thought of it, we had 0. We said we should do a video store and a pyramid. Video store we've done. That went great. That's easier to do temporarily than a pyramid. And at that same time, we got plans. We had a big fundraiser. It was amazing. I mean, it was an amazing, like 2 week. It was essentially a festival, really. But it turns out, you know, nothing's cheap. And no one wants to work anymore.
Yeah, that's the real issue. The pyramid builders just we can't find pyramid builders.
Yeah.
You know, pyramids are expensive. They're hard to find.
Yeah, they're really hard to make.
So what we at 366 Weird Movies know you guys for primarily is Doggiewoggiez Poochiewoochiez.
Hey, which by the way, thanks so much for putting us on the cover of your book. How many years ago was that now?
That was it was the year Doggiewoggiez Poochiewoochiez came out. It was on the cover of our yearbook.
2012?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yes, it was the end of 2012 because we put it out at the beginning. Yes. Well, thank you again. That's awesome to have and see.
And now you will be in another book, our big book of movies of 366 movies. And it will actually be there alongside the Holy Mountain, given equal billing with the movie.
That is unbelievable.
It's only fair.
So,
yeah, or it's only fair. I guess I shouldn't be that impressed, right?
So again, if anybody isn't familiar with Everything is Terrible and doesn't know about Doggiewoggiez Poochiewoochiez, this is essentially a sort of remake of Ordowski's The Holy Mountain, but done entirely with dog footage, found footage, footage from really bad movies. I think there's probably some dog training videos thrown in there and stuff. So I guess you guys are fans of the movie, or?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, if you're gonna remake, you're gonna remake it. If you're gonna remake any movie, I mean, why wouldn't it be that, right? I mean, you know, we're not gonna do Home Alone or something. It only felt like, yeah, it made perfect sense.
Home Alone with dogs would have been way too easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And so, like, prior to this, I think you'd done mostly sort of, they might have been themed, but mostly standalone videos and then sort of compilation videos. But this seemed a little more narratively ambitious when you came up with this idea. Would you say that's true, or am I?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that we were really starting to come into our own with the found footage compilation. So we wanted to kind of push it to what we thought was the stupidest level we could come up with.
Yeah, it was the first time that Commodore and I kind of went our own way of just being like, I mean, we had help and stuff like that, but it was our first attempt at being like, let's just kind of almost treat it like, at that time it was almost like a side project. I mean, it was definitely was a full-time project, but you know, it felt like, okay, we're just gonna kind of like try this because it's so challenging or whatever. And definitely broke us for sure. I know I've said this many times before, but I don't know if I ever recovered from it emotionally.
No.
Psychically. No. There's just, if you've watched one Hallmark movie, a dog Hallmark movie, or a Air Buddies or whatever, it's like one too many. They're exactly the same. It's a shame too, because the dog genre could be like the most beautiful film genre. There are amazing dog films, obviously, both highbrow, lowbrow, whatever you want to call it. But oh man, that one really, that was tough.
I'm curious. I know it's a collective, and there are a lot of people. You two seem to be the most prominent names we see over and over attached to the projects. How do you guys? What do each of you do? What do you bring specifically to the team? Do your talents overlap, or does one of you do one thing and one of you do another?
I don't do any editing. No, we actually we split it up really nicely. It's pretty it's like nice in that sense of we both edit a ton. So I mean, a lot of it, you know, I'm gonna make I'm gonna show how the sausage is made and that it's very boring and depressing. Like sausage, it's just like a lot of it is like the creativity definitely comes in for sure. I mean, it's there the whole time, but our version of it is still like you just have to sift through so many things, and there's an art to that in itself, and like sure, but between the two of us there's just like, well, we both have to, like, there's no room for anything other than that. Then when we can kind of like everyone's kind of got their own like talents as far as when the edit goes, but then it's like I do more illustration where Nick does all of the like, you know, costume and puppet creation and actual like physical building. So in that sense, it really is like nice in the true sense of the word collective, you know.
Yeah, and I think we're all playing to our strengths for sure when we get the opportunity to. But like old Ghoulie was saying there, it's like you really have to just do the most boring labor imaginable for thousands of hours to even get to that point. So
yeah,
sometimes we like to skip over that fact, but my God, it's so boring just organizing piles of dog footage.
Giles, do you have a question? I don't want
Oh, well, I guess sure. Seeing as I really didn't know anything about you fine individuals or your group until about an hour ago when I started looking around online.
yeah.
Ooh, a fan.
Well, I knew about the dog movie from jumping on to 366 8 or 9 years ago. It says you met up at Ohio University. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about that? Did you have some classes together, share a homeroom? Were you roommates? What
Oh, sure, we had classes.
We did. We had classes.
those, yeah.
We thought, you know, I think for the first couple of years, I thought Nick was a bad kid, you know, just like, oh, that guy's bad.
Which
He's a
I
bad
was.
to.
Which no, you weren't. It was that, you know, you lived in a dorm full of monsters. So I associated you with a in like a pig pen.
Well, he was also offended that I had burnt a couch, which I did burn that couch,
I
but
love that couch. Wasn't
no
my
one wants
couch.
to no one wants to talk about what the couch did to me. So
Well, I'd like to think we're a safe space for that, unless of course it's you who doesn't want to
Well,
talk
yeah,
about
I
it.
thought that this mod that the couch was in was a safe space, and that safe space was taken away from me.
yeah, it actually turns out that I was just kind of a monster.
Yeah, yeah. No, but we had classes. We hated school in the same way we hated OU. I mean, we don't like. I mean, you know, we go back and forth, but I mean, I like, you know, education is great in a certain
In theory.
in theory, and you know, we were just like little shit kids going to a state school. They were just like, man, this place sucks.
You know, and
Yeah.
honestly, if I may be honest for once in my life, you know, I didn't have much direction and I was just fucking off. And you know, I met Dimitri and he was a deeply inspiring person to be around. So I think once we got started, there was just kind of no stopping. We just started making stuff, and once I started making stuff, I felt pretty good. So
You're
you
too
know,
kind, and that's true. I think that's where it kind of was, is that we had like but I think the two of us kind of had a little bit just of like a very specific need that we weren't really getting, like the itch wasn't getting scratched where we were, and we were like, we know we want to do something, and like you do this and I do this, and what are we doing? Like, what are we good at? What are, when you're like that age, and like everything around you just kind of makes you mad and like excited at the same time. Like you're very like hopeful, but also you feel like it's like, at least I was like, is it too late for something? I don't even know what it was. I think when you're just like comparing yourself or whatever, just young person stuff. And then, yeah, I think just that like motivation, I think we like help motivate each other in that way of just like, nah, we want to go on the road, but we don't want to do like sketch comedy, but we want to do this thing. And, it was very nice how it like evolved in that way pretty quickly.
What years were you at the Ohio U? In Athens, right?
In glorious Athens, Ohio, from 2000 to like we stayed a little extra 05, I think. Yeah, 05. So that was still like obviously I think it was still we were living in a post Napster currently, I guess, like at that point, E-Bombs world, pre-YouTube universe, if that makes sense. A very specific time in American history.
Yeah, those are actually my years at
oh, nice.
At college. So
yeah, when it was like hard to find a video, like you were like, oh, there's this thing, you got to see it. Where do I find it? I don't know. Where do we send it to me? I guess I'll email it to you. I mean, that's like Friendster and whatever came about. But even then, videos really weren't. I guess they kind of were, but not in the way they. Obviously, nothing like what they were now. Video on the internet was terrible for like a long time. It was very choppy and bad. So it was like harder, and that kind of made it. But that's kind of what made it more fun. It was like you couldn't really dig for anything online, so you had to go into the real world. Not that we even thought about it being a choice. It was just like, oh, there's so much stuff that like needs to be on here. Like,
yeah, and it kind of turned us into like to hounds, to maniacal hounds who were just looking for videos and cutting them up and putting them on the internet.
And curators, right? Too.
Yeah, accidental curators.
Yeah, I think that made it easy for that time on being just like on the internet. Like if you just kind of did anything, people were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" So for our way, yes, exactly. Like we thought of it as sort of being hoarders, I think at first, or that's what I kind of came to think of it later. But then really it is like, no, I think it is just, I mean, yes, that is, yes, but also archivists, that part too. Where there's just kind of a need of like, well, I can't leave the store without that, like, what was something you were just showing me, like, I don't know, like a flower deck, just the most boring video. Like, honestly, something we were just going through as a pile, and it's like, oh, a lot of these are just, Commodore was just saying, I don't know, they might just be a lot of people talking, and it's like, yeah, but either way, no, we have to have it. Not for like hoarding reasons, more just to be like, well, what if there's something? Look at that background. Oh, that lighting's pretty amazing. Look at that set. There's just something that there's like a need of like, but I can't let that part go.
So yeah, there's almost something special in every single, every tape. There's something worthwhile for us in there.
Yeah.
And I imagine since you got a little more known and popular, you started, you didn't have to go out and search for stuff. People would bring it to you, I would guess. People would find
people do. We're very thankful for fans who do. We're always like super appreciative, but honestly, mostly they bring Jerry's, which is great.
I think that was our fault. I think we screwed that
up. Yeah, like we're buds with the Found Footage Fest folks and stuff like that, and just it's funny that they'll just be like, yeah, fan sent us this, and it's like, well, a fan sent 80 Jerry's this month, so. Wow, we've made our jobs twice as hard in that sense. But but that said, we've had plenty of hits, plenty of like gems from folks who don't put their names on the tapes, and then they go in a van, and then 2 years later we go, this looks good. No, we try to be better about it. But that has happened too many times, so we apologize to anyone who may have been offended. But
seems like you get a lot of you get instructional videos, which I guess you can find at thrift stores, but you also have things like I see like training videos, corporate training videos, which actually sometimes can be some of the funniest things when they're
oh god, yeah.
Those are like the diamonds in the rough for sure. Those are fewer and fewer and fewer. I mean, they've always been hard to find, but it's the hardest. There's no physical stores that really have VHS anymore. It's very rare. So you might even say it's almost impossible to find. But and because they made so few of them, you wouldn't really find them in a thrift store. It would be ones that were given to us over the years of like, oh, I work at Trader Joe's and I'll just steal that for you. And it's like, cool, thank you. Stuff like that. But yeah, there's a never ending. What was I just watching? Something online of like, I think it was Cinemark or something.
Ooh.
I can't remember what franchise it was, but they were just the Cinemark ones are great. The little sketches, the world building that they create, those are endless.
And also, there's plenty of Bible thumping ones, so that's a never.
Too many.
Oh God, no shortage there. My
I
God.
wish.
Oh.
Which is kind of maybe a segue into so we talked about Doggiewoggiez, Poochiewoochiez. A lot of fans at our sites have recommended we check out your other features, of which a lot of them are more compilations, but the two kind of themed ones that people are interested in that I've been very lax in getting to are number one, The Great Satan. Can you tell us about The Great Satan?
Oh, we're quite proud of the Great Satan. I mean, I think that was us kind of exercising our demons in that we had so many Christian tapes that we had to move through. So it is a combination of thousands of Christian tapes mixed with like D horror movies. It just came out to this goopy, soupy, horrible mess. It's wonderful.
Yeah, we went out seeking goop, is what we said. We were like, this will probably be our goopiest movie by far, and I think we succeeded in that. But it's definitely our darkest in many ways. That and Kids Club, they definitely are kind of bookends to each other in a way. Where like if the Great Satan is sort of what those people are afraid of, Kids Club is the world that they want to live in, that those same people want to kind of create for themselves. Where Kids Club is similar concept, but all using kids tapes and footage and that kind of thing. Again, in the same realm of like instructional, sing along, whatever the world of kid tapes are, which is also endless, like dog tapes. But unlike dog tapes, way more diverse in their insanity, in their colors, and their plot lines and fantasy. I mean, just everything. There's so much more there. So anyway,
and I think from a technical standpoint, we reached kind of like a pinnacle of what we were doing too. Like I think with those two features, our editing style and Ghoul School's work with score, I think was really elevated. So they're a lot more cohesive than like the 2012 era Doggiewoggiez work that we were doing.
Yeah, we got a lot just more. We got bored easier. You get bored pretty easy, so you just keep having to like switch it up in that way. But then there's also things like, oh, what if we spent more time on the visuals on Great Satan and Kids Club than pretty much we like ever had before? What if we had more time to work on sound and sound design and how it all flows together and blah blah blah? Because usually there is like a tight timeline. Eventually, it always comes down to something, and it's like, no, I think if we can hone in on that made it a pretty different experience in that way. Yeah, I've not looked back on Doggiewoggiez in many years, maybe about a decade. I think after we toured with it for 3 months, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to ever see this again. But yeah,
we were supposed to have a 10-year anniversary screening and performance in Los Angeles, and we were releasing it on VHS finally, but COVID canceled it, so we didn't end up getting to see it
right at the beginning of it. But yeah, exactly. That was going to be like okay, I can revisit this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then what
Get
did we
the
do in
stinky
between?
old dog costumes out.
Oh right, that was why, because we went on the road and did a very kind of a post Chuck E. Cheese type live show where we dressed up as dogs for, that was 12 weeks, right? That was a 12-week straight tour, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was
That's
very
right.
long.
That was in the beginning. That was that was right at the launch of Doggiewoggiez. And what was I going to say? Well,
Were you
yeah,
going to
I
talk
mean,
about dancing for
oh,
6
and how
hours
they,
while wearing a
yes,
dog
and how they,
costume
and
in
how the
Florida?
costumes have, yeah, the costumes only got worse and worse and worse about halfway through, about halfway through, give or take. We had many weeks of no one can clean them. We tried, of these big shaggy dog costumes. There were 3 of them, a dog catcher costume, a whatever. It just kept going. And yeah, it turns out when you're on a 12-week tour and your costumes stink, there is no one can do anything for you.
And no one wants to be near you either.
Yes, and that too.
Nobody tells you that at Ohio U and
No, they don't.
No, there should be a class.
Yeah.
At least a guidance counselor can sit down and, advise.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't care.
So I noticed in that I see a trend. You've gone from dogs, which are not so terrible, down to Satan, which is pretty terrible, down to kids, which is really terrible. Is there anywhere below that you can go? I mean, politicians maybe next?
I think we've hit the bottom. I don't
I
think.
think we've hit. If I made a politic movie, I'd rather, stick my head in the toilet. No. In a lot of ways, it's like, I mean, look, it is something we put in everything, and that's something like that's just been a part of it. Is there is like a message there that is pretty clear. You don't really have to guess where we kind of stand just in the world by watching our stuff, which is like a hard thing to do within found footage, but it's like it's just been a part of what we've done for so long. And with Great Satan and kids, it really was like, I don't know how much more clear, like I don't know what, exactly, like you said, like I don't know if there's a deeper level in that sense of like themes. We've been very, we've been saying that like themes kind of tuckered us out.
Yeah, I think we're all done there. We have talked, if there's another movie left in us, it's going to be like fully far out there, just like our ambient album, just as far from Earth as possible. Is it like
so post literate? Are there no words? Is it only sound? I don't know. We're just like, we don't know what's interesting to like us with all this stuff anymore. It's just crazy. It's been so many years of just looking at all this insanity. I'm looking at it now as I'm talking to you. I'm opening up a folder Commodore got me of a couple hundred tapes, and it is like there's still so much beautiful stuff to be found. But it's like, where do you go from there?
Wow, I mean, you've reached the end of terribleness almost. It can't be. There must be more terribleness out there.
I think there's plenty of terribleness. It's just that we want to live a nice life where we're not staring at it all day.
I think that's it. I think the when there's, and we're so, and it's awesome how many people are we're not the first found footage folks. We will not be the last found footage folks. We're just like in like a pretty short still history in I don't know, the last 50, 60 years, I guess at the most, something like that. And it's amazing to see like young people doing it, but that's it. I'm just like, wow, you've got that edge. Oh yeah, you found your first Colby tape. I know what that was like. Oh yeah, post. But I think we're trying to figure that out of like what's that other thing that is interesting to us. There was a couple years ago, was that right before, no, that was a while ago now, it was right before COVID, like the summer before COVID, we went to a video store in the Valley in LA, and this beautiful video store, Odyssey Video, right?
I think so.
And we went through it all. It was very sad to see it go. It wasn't even because they were running out of business. It was just the landlords wanted to put in a restaurant or something that I'm sure is doing great, by the way. I'm sure whatever's there is better than a beautiful 40-year-old video store that was still keeping itself in business. Anyway, they were like, do you want to go in the back room in like the porn room, and we're like, oh, haha, sure, I guess. You know, we've seen all this other stuff. There was really nothing that we didn't, you know, we didn't really want anything. It was all a bunch of, you know, just like mainstream movies. And then we've had it in a pile for how many years now? Just this pile of how many porn tapes? Well, I mean, I guess it's a couple hundred, couple less.
I counted them at some point. It's more than 500, less than 1,000.
Oh, okay,
So,
it's more than, yeah.
A nice
Anyway,
number.
that's a level that we'll never get to. I doubt we'll ever get to that level fully. I'll never do a film, but it is interesting to look at another era of footage, which, you know, you'd call like late Boogie Nights era porn, you know, like when, you know, it's just like we shoot, and then, you know, whatever, we edit it later, that kind of thing. But it is fascinating to see that world of just like sets, production design, lighting, all of it, actors that you're just like not used to seeing in that context. It's like all unknowns to us, at least. And that is at least something that you're like, yeah, again, it's there. It's just, oof, that is an endless well of sadness and whatever. And beauty.
Yeah,
both.
It's a dangerous door to kick open, I imagine.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. It's just like, I guess that hasn't been touched that much. People have done their fair share of it, found footage collectives, but anyway, it's a rough one. But the intros and outros, those are usually pretty amazing.
Always good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, at the Fantasia Festival, I did see a found footage collage movie that was made from hardcore. And it never got any distribution, or I don't think it was seen outside when it was screened at the festival. And they did include some hardcore footage. I thought it would have been funnier and better if they just restricted themselves to the acting parts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What was it called?
I can't remember the name.
Is this when you covered it, Greg?
Yeah, I can look it up.
That's cool. I'm just curious because that's no, then apparently it has been done. Yeah, again, I knew that some folks, I think, yeah, there's been eras of it. I know it's always been a little bit like, okay, that's a whole thing. But yeah, exactly. It doesn't need any penetration of any kind. It's like, no, the intros and outros and in-betweens are kind of like, that's those gems that you're trying to find in anything, you know?
It's called Ultra Sex.
Yeah,
Stitches together scenes from dozens of adult movies using comic overdubbing to create a science fiction story about, and then you sort of,
Nice. I will check that out. I'm glad to hear it.
Absolutely.
If it's available anywhere. I like I say, I don't know that it ever got it was ever seen after it screened there. I certainly
sure.
But yeah, that would be something I would certainly be interested in if you could stitch together like a soap opera movie out of just the non-sex scenes from adult movies. I think there's real promise there.
Right, exactly. It's like, there's something, but then there's also a beauty in just like ladies getting their haircuts. It's like, that's a whole genre of tapes or something, you know? It's just like how to do your hair. And there's something so just like beautiful about these sets. Like there are these voids in space with red grids, and you know, I'm sure they were all taped in the valley, probably minutes away from Odyssey Video when it was still open. It's all that stuff of just like, yeah, you start to kind of get deeper and deeper into the worlds of that stuff, no matter how kind of benign, you know, as I'm sure you all understand as the patience that you have. Yeah, I'm looking at a lady right now just like playing golf in all neon. All these old ladies playing golf, and they're wearing what look like mall cups from the 1990s, and it's amazing. It's a work of art. And it's like, I don't care that it's not, there's probably nothing funny in this tape, but is there something visual that we can take and turn it into something? I don't know. That's what we're aiming for.
Nice.
So I also know that you guys did you did like an installation, or maybe you've done several installations, but one for Meow Wolf.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
We did.
When was that?
We just hit our 2-year anniversary. We were saying that is our full on. If Doggiewoggiez was a sort of a precursor. Doggiewoggiez sort of was, I think, our live show was a precursor to. We love world building. That's very important to us. Every live show, that's like huge. Again, with Commodore's costumes, it shapes the show. You know, it's like a whole kind of like that weaves in and out of the show because also audiences need a break. Anyway, with Doggiewoggiez, we were like, we love this world of Chuck E. Cheese, of McDonald's play place. How can we explore that further? Okay, you know, whatever. We just kind of like put it aside, and then yeah, Nick Commodore was working with. When did you start working with him?
With Meow Wolf, we worked on the House of Eternal Return in Santa Fe. So there is some of our work in there, and there were some of our videos in there. So that was, I think 2015, maybe something like that.
That sounds right.
And then then we
this
started working on Denver.
Yeah, it's about a 700 square foot space where there's a living, like it's a all day, every day open living world that we created. So it's essentially think of it as we describe it as a post-human McDonald play place or Chuck E. Cheese or whatever you want to, in that realm. There are animatronics, there are 8-foot talking trees that interact with each other and you can interact with. There's a custom arcade that was built just for the room. There's tons of artwork everywhere. There's an hour's worth of video. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it was a kind of an opportunity for us to like build our own world that is like everything is terrible. I mean, everything that we love about everything is terrible, but just fully of our creation. And if you watch like the video, you can fully see like, you know, that whatever hour of content that we made for the room, you can really see that we like it is just everything is terrible barfed out into an installation.
And that's in
there's
Santa Fe.
That's in Denver.
Oh, Denver. Okay.
Yeah.
We have about 4 minutes left. Giles, you have a question, I know, but do you have any other questions before you ask your final question?
Oh, well, I guess before I can go ahead and ask the penultimate question, but this has been most pleasantly illuminating so far. It's like future plans, because you say you've burnt out in one way when you've hit the height of your craft. Are you apprenticing out? Are you thoughts about what's over the next horizon other than a stack of porn? What's coming for everything?
We got stuff planned. We got some upcoming, hopefully more installation work that we're very excited about. I think that's what's interesting. We're kind of just going in whatever direction we kind of feel like going in. So I think we're just sort of, we got our computers open. We got our with Premiere. We've got more, it's like we've sort of got everything set up, but we're just sort of like, what feels good, Yeah,
we're just not sure of what it's going to become. I'm sitting between two machines capturing tapes right now, so it's not like nothing is happening. We just don't know what it is for sure. What it looks like. But
it's an open world, I think, in that, which is nice that we're kind of like, what do we want to make? Is it just like short stuff for the internet again, which we really kind of gotten away from? We've been more focused on the bigger, things like a movie or, or Meow Wolf type projects. So those kind of things. So yeah, for us, we're just like, what haven't we gotten to do? What's fun? What's interesting?
And I think to be specific, because I think we sometimes forget all the things that actually are happening. We're probably about to announce that we're going on tour in Europe with Kids Club. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then
that's right.
Ghoul Skool, you just made a short that I made a puppet for that got accepted into Sundance for Crepes Pete.
That is true. So it's still and again, it's like still the same elements are there. I pay homage to found footage in the short. The Kids Club tour is an extension of something that we started doing post COVID, like whatever 2022 is when that first went on the road, but hasn't gotten to see Europe. Again, involves puppets, costumes, insanity. It's all kind of the same brain boily mentality. And it's nice to see it in different formats, whether it's narrative film or found footage or installation or live shows. It's like that to us is why it's like in that sense, it feels more like a collective that it can just sort of like be so many things,
Mhm.
which I think is so
Yeah.
cool. It's just like it's a state of mind, really, when you think about it.
It truly is.
Terrible state of mind. And
Uh-huh.
we are essentially out of time. So I want to thank Ghoul, Skool, and Commodore
Commodore Gilgamesh. Yeah, it was great chatting with you.
giving us something to talk about.
Great, Chin. Thanks for keeping the world of of film journalism a thing, and movies that people haven't seen before, and getting the word out of and stuff like that. And again, just thank you for letting us grace your cover so
Thank
many
you,
years
John.
ago.
Yeah, we really appreciate y'all.
All
Yeah.
right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good luck
Cool.
out
Okay,
Bye.
bye everybody. Bye.